I'm here to tell you I've been where you are. I'm here to tell you it feels bloody awful. Why? Because your body is going through a series of biochemical reactions. That is all. I remember those feelings of I've left it too late. I remember the feelings of I can't do this. I'm not actually going to make it. I remember the feelings very much of fear because it's something you can't control. What I did though was I learned some things that are really specific neurohacks. I'm going to give you three of them today, which, and I know you're manic. I know you're like, have I got time for this? Just think of this as 30 minutes to thrive, or 15 minutes to focus, or 5 minutes to feel better, because that is literally what you can learn in 5 minutes can massively change your biochemistry. I know because I've been there. I've been sat in that chair with all of those notes, that sea of paper around you, and you're going, how is this ever going to go in? You can learn one thing in 1 minute that gets you one more mark. That's the difference between a pass and a fail. I know because I've done both, and I'm not perfect. I'm not a naturally academically gifted person. I've had to work bloody hard to get the learning to go in. I also started really late, so I didn't have that feeling of, building. I went dropped in and it was crazy. I also, just to share with you my own personal journey, and I did this at a conference last week, I popped out a baby while I was studying as well, because I thought that was really sensible at the time. She's listening to me now, so I can't say too much, but she doesn't look as cute as that anymore. But I had the experience at Cambridge where they are gits and they make you do 2 degrees even if you only want one, of doing that first degree with a teething baby. So trust me, I get how you can be distracted by life. I get how things are happening around you. The neurohacks I'm going to give you today are bloody gold dust, and I learnt these at the time. It's how I got through that first degree here where she was just born, and how I then got my vet letters here. So if you're sitting there as a vet student, like going through the hell that is finals, I feel your pain. I feel it because I've done it. So let me teach you really fast what are the top 3 things that you need to know right now that can make a massive difference. And I do mean massive. I don't mean a small amount, because at the moment, those feelings, those doubts, those fears, they are controlling not only your actions, but how much is going in. Let me tell you why. Our wiring is really old. We're based around the threat of a saber-toothed tiger, right? There's not so many of those in pharmacology these days. There's not so many of those in anatomy these days, but our brain is still wired to fire like that. So I'm Dr. Libby Karen. I'm a neuro coach. I am, as you've seen, a vet, but I've gone on to coach people and train people. One of the biggest things that I work on with them is their response to threat. The response to threat, the need to feel safe, is so primal, guys. And right now you are being massively challenged in that, because you don't feel safe, you don't feel in control. It also is a threat to your identity, right? Because you're used to being clever. And as soon as you feel like you're not, you don't know who you are anymore. As soon as you feel like you don't know how to get back to that feeling of safety, all of your body biochemistry flares up and you go into what we call distrust behaviours. So what happens? Your tunnel vision kicks in. You can see good depth of field. Why? Because if a saber-toothed tiger is about to jump at you, you need to know how fast. Not so useful when reading exam notes. Your blood flow changes in your brain, so it switches from the logical rational into the emotional limbic. So you make very fear-based decisions. You start feeling more emotional. You start riding a sine wave like this instead of being smooth and level and calm. The muscles in your calves get really tight. Why? Because it's really useful to run really fast if it is a saber-toothed tiger. Not so useful if you're trying to learn about gluconeogenesis, right? So we have to switch our biochemistry. We have to move from that sympathetic response system to the parasympathetic. Here's the first thing I'm going to teach you. To switch from one system to another takes you literally 6 breaths. That is it. That is it. That is all you need to do. You have to do those breaths in a specific way. I'm going to show you now. This is my first neurohack, and this is really powerful. This is something you need to do before you start every revision session, because it puts your brain back in control. It stops the butterflies in your tummy, which is, again, shutting down your digestive system, because there's no point digesting your food if you're about to die. So we're switching you out of fight or flight, live or die behaviours into, okay, let me zoom in, get into this zone now. So the 6 rhythmic breaths can be done before walking into every exam as well. And it goes like this. You breathe in for a count of 4. You hold for a count of 6. And then breathe out for a count of 7. Why? When you do that, it tricks your body into thinking the saber-toothed tiger has gone, because you wouldn't be able to sustain that if the saber-toothed tiger was right here. So it's a little fast neurohack, but you have to do it 6 times in a row. So just get used to that, 4, 6, 7 breathing. If you're really tight, if your diaphragm's really tight, just do in for 4, hold for 4 and out for 5. Or even in for 2 and hold for 2 and then out for 3. Build yourself up until you can do 4, 8, 12 breathing. That's when you're really able to switch in to that parasympathetic. The difference is huge because it changes the blood flow in your brain and helps you retain, helps your long-term memory. That's the first neuro hack that I'm giving you, and it's really important. Why are we in that pattern in the first place, though? Answer: nothing has any meaning other than the meaning you give it. I'll say that again because this is really important. Nothing has any meaning other than the meaning you give it. So the meaning we apply to things determines whether we're running trust or distrust behaviours. And that is it. That is it. That is how it works. And to move from our primitive, I'll just show you another quick graphic because, again, picture says 1,000 words, right? This is from the same presentation as I did recently. And it's just about the different parts of your brain, which you don't need to know. You don't need to know this, not even for neurology. But when we're in our amygdala primitive brain, that limbic brain, we're going on real hair trigger reactions to get to our knowledge center, to the neocortex and the prefrontal neocortex, which is the executive brain. We have to switch on oxytocin. Oxytocin opposes adrenaline. That cortisol flood, that hypothalamic pituitary axis flood, that overexcitation of your nervous system is what we want to get out of so that we can change the meaning of things. If you're in your house or in your house share at uni, if you hear footsteps upstairs and you know your flatmates are there, those footsteps have a very mundane meaning and your body feels safe. Your heart rate will stay the same. Your breathing rate will stay the same. You'll sip gently from your glass of wine. Now picture the same auditory input, the same stimulus, exactly the same scenario of footsteps upstairs, but you know yourself to be alone in the house. Sudden ninja instant reaction, because your body is no longer safe. Your behavior changes, your heart rate changes. You don't even have to think and this is happening, right? So we have to change the meaning that we give things. If you're giving this the meaning of, I'm going to fail, my life will be over, I will never be a vet, I'm going to end up under a Waterloo Bridge in a box, the meaning of that is so big, so many threats to self, your behaviours will be different. Results come from action, but action comes from emotion. You can only act a certain way if your emotions are stable rather than riding that sine wave. And your emotions come from what you're thinking. So I'm going to ask you urgently to apply different meaning to what you're thinking. You need some statements. You need things like, the quickest way out is through. I did this. I had these written out. Nobody said this would be easy. There's no pride in easy. Other people have passed, so I can find a way to pass. This is a must. I'm going to find the way or make the way. I wrote these down and I had them on post-it notes all around. Looked like snow, yellow post-it snow all around my room. But just get focused. Just get very precise on what you're feeding your brain, because honestly, it will bite you. It will push you into those sympathetic behaviours, not those parasympathetic behaviours. Get clarity. Get clarity on that first. Now, when we talk about meaning as well, what we're actually talking about is your belief system. If you believe you are going to fail, is that going to change how you work? Yeah, you bet your boots it is. If you believe there's no way this is possible, is that going to change how your brain is working when you're staring at your notes? Yeah, of course it is. So I ask you, think about what are the better things that you could be believing right now? What are the thoughts that you could be feeding into this magnificent machine that is running in the 6 inches between your ears? Because here's the thing, the actions only happen when the thoughts are there to make them happen. Everything is created twice. First in your brain. This Zoom that I'm recording on right now, this was once just somebody's idea, once somebody's concept. You have to believe it first. Believing is seeing. And I know you're immediately going, yeah, Libby, if it was that simple. Yeah, it is that simple. You believe it first, the actions come after that, and the results follow. But you have to pre-frame by doing the belief system first. I know it's difficult. I know it feels really hard, but start there and trust me, everything switches. And you're asking yourself, is there time? Yes, there's still time. Yes, there's still time. 1 mark in 1 minute means there's still time. You could learn something in the next minute that comes up in the exam, and then you go, thank God I listened to that raving loony that was shouting at me down the screen going, just change your belief systems. Because if you do that, everything else comes after that. So that's the second thing I'm here to teach you. Why is this important? Because of your reticular activating system, more neurology. So I'm a neurocoach these days. I qualified as a vet, got hit by a car. Long story short version, I can't do surgery anymore. Well, I can, but it's rubbish. So I don't inflict that on the animals. So my job now is teaching people how to use this, how to get in control, how to make your brain do what you want. Be your best friend, not your worst enemy, because we all know it can be your worst enemy, right? We all know how much we can procrastinate, how much we can derail ourselves. We all know how much your brain is actually the one controlling what comes out of your fingers. Because if you don't want to do something, do you do it? No, we only do our musts. We rarely do our shoulds, and we never do what someone else tells you you should, ever. So unless something is a must for you, unless you believe this is a must, unless you actually dig into that belief system that you've got that's running between those beautiful ears of yours that mean that you know you can make a difference, this doesn't come together. So the last bit I'm going to tap into with you is about this reticular activating system, because it filters the world around you. Have you ever had that thing where you get a new car and then suddenly you're seeing other versions of that car on the roads all around you? Was it there all along? Yeah, of course it was. Was it relevant to your brain? No. So your brain filters it out. Now, here's the thing. As soon as you switch your belief system to this is something I'm going to do, I'm going to boss this. Watch me go. Your brain goes, are you? Oh, okay. And it starts looking for ways to help you. You don't wake up every morning and think, I will extend my left leg out of bed and meet the floor at a 45-degree angle, transfer 85% of my body weight. No, you just go, I'm going for a wee now. And you get up and your body moves for you. Simplistic version of a complex process, but just by thinking, I really need a wee, like more than life itself, your body starts to move in that direction. And you take the steps in natural harmony with your brain. And these things happen like that in all areas of our life. We just don't dig into them very much. We don't examine them very much. So I'm here to urge you, start with your beliefs. Start with shifting what your reticular activating system is looking for. If you're looking to a belief pattern that says, I'm going to fail, I'm going to fail, I'm going to fail, you'll keep seeing evidence of that. You'll keep seeing evidence of that. That's how your brain works. So the last bit I'm going to teach you is a way to soften your biochemical responses. So when we're talking about biochemistry, what we're talking about is cascade. So I've mentioned the hypothalamic pituitary axis. That's the amygdala. That's that knee jerk, fear, startle response that puts you into fight or flight. There's actually three others. There's freeze, friend, and flop as well. So freeze is the rabbit in headlights. You might be in that now, going, I don't think I can make a difference now. It's too late. And with that comes the shame and the guilt of I've taken up this place and, you know, I'm wasting it and I'm such a horrible person. Then you get the friend where you desperately try and spaniel up, show your tummy, please like me, even though this is all going horribly wrong. And obviously we all know the fight or flight, and the flop is the play dead. Some of you might be in that zone as well. How do we change these biochemical responses? Well, first, that calm the circuits exercise I gave you at the header of this, so that if people are so stressed they only listen for 5 minutes, I pray that they've listened to that bit and they've taken that away with them. The second is change the meaning of what things are. Change the meaning that you give to things. Remember those footsteps upstairs. The third is about your biochemistry. There's two elements to this. One is EFT. I'm going to teach you a technique that you can apply right now. I'm going to do it with you. The other is your environment. So I'm just going to briefly talk about that first. Water, oxygen. That is the biggest biohack that I can give you out of all these things, because if you just hydrate your body, a 2% dehydration leads to 80% loss of short-term memory function. Think about that. You're doing all this work, and for what if you're not hydrated and you don't actually have the ability to therefore remember it? Most thirst signals are so weak we mistake them for hunger. We start eating out of boredom. I went through a tub of gummy bears this big, but the stress in your body, the stress signals also crave those quick hits. Try and go for longer sustained sugar rushes. Banana with almonds is a great biohack. Try and make yourself eat regularly, but do make sure you drink regularly. And the oxygen part, even if you just get up and walk up and down the stairs twice, the big muscles in your legs act like a second heart. They pump that blood around, they clear the lymph, they move your body, and they create a feeling of well-being, because why you're moving, you're not sitting there stagnant. So that's the environmental part. Now let's go through the EFT. This is where it gets a bit woo. Bear with me. So I did a lot of research. I basically studied how to study and I learned how to learn, especially when I popped out a baby. Trust me, nothing focuses your attention more than a teething baby when you're writing a 10,000 word dissertation. So I looked up what are the biggest effects. This is one of the weirdest techniques I found. but it works. Some people qualify this, which makes me laugh, because basically it's just tapping on your own face. I think we're all qualified to do that. You can't do this wrong. There is no way to do the breathing wrong. There is no way to do the EFTing wrong. There is no way to do the making things mean what you want them to mean wrong. You can't fail at this. So please try. Please try. What we do is we do a setup statement by tapping in the middle of your head. I know it sounds weird. Bear with me on this. And we do a setup statement, and we say it 3 times. So I want you to tap along with me, even if it feels weird, even if it feels stupid. I am the blend of the science with the woo, by the way. I believe in looking at what the best is that science has to offer and blending that with what things move your soul. And this is one of those things that taps into the language center of your brain. Now, the limbic part of your brain has no language. The amygdala has no languaging. So you know that horrible sick feeling in your stomach? The reason people ask you to journal, the reason they say it out loud, the reason they say a problem shared is a problem halved, is because the amygdala has no language center. When we move things into language, we take them out of the amygdala and put them in the prefrontal neocortex, where we can rationally and logically process. That's why this is powerful. See, neuroscience blended with a bit of woo. So this is called EFT, and we start on the head. So use 2 fingers or 3 fingers like that. You just tap right in the middle. You can't do this wrong. And you say the phrase, even though I have left it too late and I'm incredibly stressed about failing, I still love and accept myself. Yeah, I told you it was going to get woo. Okay, do it again. Even though I have left it way too late and I'm really stressed and upset, I still completely love and accept myself. Yes, say those words and say it for a 3rd time. Even though I'm really stressed about failing, I still completely love and accept myself. Take a big breath in. And now we start moving around the tapping points. First one is in between your eyes. All this stress, all this overwhelm, all these notes, and say whatever resonates to you. Then corner of the eye. Even though I've got all this stress and all this overwhelm and all these notes, under the eye. Even though I've got all this stress, all this overwhelm and all these notes, I still completely love and accept myself. Under the nose. Even though I've left it so late that now my writing looks like angry spiders on a page because I'm writing so fast and I'm so tired, I still love and accept myself. Under the lip, on the chin. Even though it feels like there's only about 7 minutes before my first exam, I still love and accept myself. Big breath in. Now move down to your brain buttons. They're just here, either side of your collarbone, so I just cheat and use my hand. You can't do this wrong. Even though everyone else is totally prepared and I am not, I still completely love and accept myself, and I am okay. And we start adding in the phrase, and I am okay now. Because we're building back a sense of safety in your neurology. We're tapping on the energy meridian lines, which I know sounds woo, but they exist. And then we go onto bra strap. So ladies, just under your arm. Gents, make it up. Even though I'm really stressed and tired and exhausted and I don't know how I'm going to cope, I will still completely love and accept myself because I'm okay. Back to the top of the head. Close it up. Even though I've got all this stress going on in my body, I choose to completely love and accept myself right now. Big breath in. Breathe out. And then you can close just by resting a hand on your solar plexus and a hand on your heart or on your throat. And just take a breath in and out and just feel that stress ebb away a little bit. We're just turning the dial. You're not going to immediately solve everything, but by doing this on repeat, and I would do normally 3 rounds of that, changing the words, do whatever feels right, tapping wherever feels right, but following that rough cycle, top of the head, in between the eyebrows, corner of eye, under the nose, under the chin, brain buttons, bra strap, back to the top. Big breath in and let go of all the stress you're holding. Because what are we doing? We're changing your biochemistry. How cool is that? It's really simple, but it's really powerful. And when you learn to discharge emotions from your body, so there's 3 schools of behavioral psychology. One is adjusting, so things like Alexander technique or CBT, where we start with the belief that something needs fixing. The other is where we go through process, which is where we start with the belief that the client is the healer, they're the innate expert. So we listen to them talking, things like talking therapy. This is in between those two, it sits in between those two schools of thought, and this is discharge, where you deliberately get feelings out of your body. So when you feel like you've got a foot on the brakes, or you feel like you've got a foot on the gas too hard, we want a release. We want a nervous system release. And so learning how to switch from cortisol to oxytocin, we go from distrust to trust. We get back to a feeling of safety. If you want more info on this, there's a brilliant book, Polyvagal Theory, really cool. Polyvagal Theory is all about the feeling of safety in the body. And I'm a massive fan of this approach. I'm a massive fan of helping you get back in control. But just be aware that all the things you're going through, other people have been through them and they've come out the other side. All the things you're feeling, other people have felt those too, and they've lived. You will live. You will survive this. Even if what comes out isn't what you want, you can change that likelihood right now by hitting these 3 things in order. Number 1, calm the circuits. Take those 6 rhythmic breaths where your out breath is longer than your in breath. Number 2, change the meaning, change the belief system now. Not when you've got the results. By then it's too late. Then it really is too late. Change it now. Because how you feel then can be how you feel now. And this way of feeling gives you a massively different chance of the results being better when you take out this circling, massive sine wave ups and downs. Come back to base camp, come back to I'm actually okay, and your biochemistry calms down and your nervous system calms down, your cortisol calms down. Hands up if you feel a little bit better now, having done a round of tapping, than you did before, because the third thing is your environment and EFT, the 2 E's. So the environment is oxygen and H2O. Make sure you've got both those things running. And the more you drink, the more you wee like a racehorse. So the more you have to get up and move, the more likely you are to be rested. Set a timer on your phone for 43 minutes. That is the peak time for concentration drop off. It falls off the cliff after that, you are less effective. When that timer goes off, get up, move, drink. And just make sure you take those breaks, because it's not willful ignorance of that people forget to take breaks. It's just people just get into it so much, but then you're getting less and less effective the more you're studying. So study up to 43 minutes, stand up, move. 7-minute timer is perfect for a break. And then you're still in the zone, and then you get back into it, because it takes time for you to re-engage, but your brain will be stronger for it. Good luck. I'm thinking of you all. I hope this has been useful. Share it if it has. Share the love. I'm doing this for free because I know how I felt when I was in your shoes. So with all the love in all the world, I hope you calm your circuits, take those breaths, take that water in, get your environment set up like a cockpit so you're ready for this last push. This is it, guys. It's now a sprint finish. The marathon is done. Sprint finish to the end. So let's hope you can just get used to using your neurology to work with you, not against you. I'm Dr. Libby Karen. Sign up to my YouTube for more cool stuff like this. The neuro hacks are what I love. So I'll be doing more over the next coming couple of weeks. Big love to you all. Bye.